Welcome to PSGL PSF2 for another day of racing. We are here in the historic circuit of Silverstone in Great Britain for round number 5 of this championship. And I am your commentator Ghost as usual, but I'm not joined by Nathan this week as he is away on other commitments, I think work commitments. So I'm here instead with Bath. How are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm great. It's a bit hot in England today, but other than that, looking forward to this race. It's such a good track as well, and I'm sure these F2 drivers are going to give us a lot of action.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been really hot today, and it's going to be even hotter tomorrow in the UK, which is lovely. I absolutely adore the summer. No sarcasm there at all. I mean, what can you expect? I'm an F1 sim racing commentator. I mean, how often do we touch grass, really? But no. We're here in Silverstone. It's going to be a fantastic race, I'm sure. We've got 16 on the grid. I think we're waiting for Lars as well, who might be joining during qualifying, but for now we've got a decent grid, and it's going to be Nico Rassenberg heading through Magnussen Beckett's that's going to get the first lap underway. How much have you raced in Silverstone on this year's game, if at all, Bath?
I don't think I've had a league race at it yet, but I think it's definitely a good circuit as usual, especially Maggots and Beckett's. I think is a really nice flowing section of the track on this game, even though it always is, but I feel like that's probably the most prominent bit that I find enjoyable about this track. I'd say some of the curbs, like in this game and a few years before, the sausage curbs have been getting more and more lethal as we see Rasenberg just going through with them, for example, now. Especially at the final corner as well, which I always find a bit tricky because, you know, if you see your delta and if you're up by about 4 tenths or whatever, it's so hard not to just go too close to that curb and lose maybe a tenth or so just at the end of your lap. So it's going to be really interesting to see who can nail this track.
Yeah, it is indeed. I'm going to ride on board with Nico as he comes through the middle sector right now, down towards Copse Corner. Should be flat out in these cars and turns in just after the 50-metre board, but loses the rears as he goes through. Just about keeps hold of the car to stop it spiralling into the wall, but that was very close for Nico Rassenberg. Would have lost him plenty of time as he now heads through Beckett's and Chapel. DRS open all the way down towards Stowe, already using a lot of ERS in that Williams. In fact, pretty much depleted on the run to Stowe. Don't know if that's optimal ERS usage, but these drivers probably know better than me as he heads down towards the 100-metre board for the Vale chicane and through down towards the final corner he goes. Nico Rassenberg puts up a 1 minute 25.8 to start off this session, and given how scrappy that lap looked at times, that's not bad at all. Kevin Zunneberg is next to come across the line. That's 25.6, only 2 tenths quicker. So Nico Rassenberg looking very strong on this circuit at the moment because that was a scrappy lap. Tom goes to P2 though, just 700ths behind the Mercedes driver, and Spiros splits them even further. Then it's going to be Gatkowski in the McLaren, only P6 for him, followed by the Ferrari of Christian. The Italian driver's been very up and down. Not very consistent in his performances, sometimes way up at the front, sometimes towards the back. But today, he's in P4 for now, as Nico in the Aston Martin, the F3 champion, only good enough for 8th place for now. Ivan Eskrig, now the championship leader, because we do have some big news for you over the last week. Former championship leader Evan Nye has been promoted to PSF1, so he will no longer be taking part in this division, meaning the championship, especially in terms of the drivers, is now wide open for someone to take charge. And at the moment, Ivan Eskrig is the championship leader by just a couple of points, but he's down in 6th place at the moment as Zane goes to P2 and Max van der Geest back to the track after a few weeks off in PSF2. Goes to the top of the standings once again, like we were used to seeing him earlier in the season, Bath.
Yeah, obviously got that win in Austria, But since then, it has only raced in Saudi Arabia, and then didn't make the last 2 races. But he's back with a bang, it seems, with that 1:25.537. Seems like the Sauber of Chris RBL is on the lap, as well as VNT Sapala, I think, but his lap's invalidated.
He has indeed, yeah. Chris heading through Beckett's then, and Chapel. Oh no, he's not. He's heading into the wall. That's where he's going. The front wing damaged for the Sauber driver. He's very lucky to get away with that one. That was a hefty impact on the exit of Chapel, and he'll be trundling back to the pit lane to fit a new front wing. He won't be particularly happy with that blunder, as Starler's still in the pit lane at the moment, still hasn't gone out for a lap. But yeah, Max van der Geest, he was very unlucky, and Jeddah came a cropper in a collision with Chris, who we just saw smash into the wall at Chapel. And just coming out the pit lane, it was a dramatic moment, especially in the terms of the championship at the time. But like Bath said, Max van der Geest has missed the last couple rounds, and so he'll be hoping to come back with a win here in Silverstone. He's certainly back with provisional pole for now. It's a Mercedes front row lockout as we reach the sort of third waypoint of qualifying. Bath, what does it take to hook up a great lap around Silverstone?
I mean, there's a lot of things. I think one of the most obvious ones is not do what we just saw from Chris, especially out of Magnussen and Beckett's. But I mean, he was lucky to escape that one with just some wing damage. Yeah, I mean, for a good lap, just got to be hitting all the apexes like every track, really. I mean, I'm not the fastest driver, but yeah, if you can hit the apexes, keep your corner speed high, and just keep it on the track, not invalidate, should be looking at get a decent grid position. But one thing I just wanted to say about Chris is that crash was really not what he needed, because I think one of the worst things that you can have happen in like qualifying is keep on making mistakes on your banker and you're not able to get a good lap in, or not a lap in at all if you're invalidating or spinning, and then it puts so much pressure on your final lap. It usually means there's a higher possibility that you're going to make another mistake rather than if you have a decent banker lap in already.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you've also got the psychological effect of not having a delta to keep to, because once you've got a lap on the board, obviously you can compare all your next laps with the delta that you set. And having a green delta on your screen is, you know, it can be nerve-wracking, but it can also be a motivator, as can be a red delta in, you know, for opposite reasons. So to not have a delta at all after a first run is quite an impact psychologically, and Chris is going to have to deal with that as he gets out on track again. Kevin Zunneberg not improving in the first sector as we watch him head towards Magnussen and Beckett's right now. The detection line just there for the DRS when we get into the race, so that'll be where the drivers will be looking to be within 1 second so they can get DRS here on the run down towards Stowe Corner, a crucial part of the circuit. But Kevin Zunneberg is just going to nail the last few corners here, and he might well be able to snatch. He invalidates too wide at Stowe Corner. It's so easy to do at that corner, and Kevin Zunneberg is going to have to get back into the pit lane and try again, unfortunately for him. Next across the line, Nico Rassenberg I'm watching at the moment. Sipala on an out lap, but Nico Rassenberg to provisional pole. We knew his lap was scrappy earlier in the session. This time he's got it right, and he's 0.02 of a second quicker than the Mercedes of Max van der Geest, and the Mercedes dominance of this qualifying session has been brought to an end for now, but still 8 minutes to go, Bath.
Yeah, and I mean, as you were saying before we went live, this tier is so close, and that's really been shown in this early stage of qualifying at the moment. I mean, from P11 to P2, wow. As Spyros just goes quicker, we'll just say P2 to Phil at the moment is split by only 3 attempts, which is almost the entire grid, and I think that just shows how competitive it is. But Tom and Spirals are breaking the limits at the moment that have been shown so far with those lap times.
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of unfortunate timing for you to be making that comment about everything being so close, Bath, because Tom, Spirals, Astala, all putting in outrageous lap times, well quicker than everyone else so far, to get themselves into the top 3. Astala was obviously one of the big players in the last few weeks, and now Ivan Eskrig joins the party. Championship leader goes to provisional pole, but it's so close. Less than a tenth between the top 3, and now the Red Bulls have usurped the Mercedes. And the two Petronas cars who were in the top 2 positions after the first runs now find themselves in 6th and 9th. Kevin Zunneberg's already done 2 runs, so it's up to Max van der Geest on this second run here to try and get himself further up the field, but that is a big gap to try and chase down. And the man who dominantly won at the first race of the season in Austria, as Bath pointed out earlier, is now here with some work to do in Silverstone.
Yeah, still a lot of time though for him to set another lap. I think, is he on one at the moment?
He is, yeah, through Begets and Chapel.
Yeah, and enables DRS there under the DHL advertising bridge, I guess you could call it. As he now comes round this tricky right-hander, especially, with how late it is in the lap. But manages to do what he was it him or Zunneberg that went off of that corner before.
It was
anyway, he's able to improve that and get 4th, a little closer to the cars in front. But he's definitely gonna still want to find some improvement in that lap.
Yeah, absolutely right. It was Zunneberg who went off at that corner, just a little bit wide at Stowe to invalidate his lap. But Max van der Geest up into the second row. But yeah, I get the feeling he won't be particularly pleased with that. Just 5.5 minutes to go. He's not got a lot of time to improve on that further and get himself into the conversation for pole position. His teammate right now is just 300ths down in the first sector, so he needs to find some time. And, well, this session in the last 2 or 3 minutes has taken a huge turn in terms of where the drivers are on the grid, with now the Red Bulls in both of the top 2 rows, and the Mercedes down to 4th and 9th. But Kevin Zunneberg has an opportunity here. He might get a tow off his teammate as well down towards Stowe Corner if Max van der Geest is willing to play ball, and it looks like he is. Look at this, some good teamwork from the Mercedes duo. Kevin Zunneberg half a tenth up in the second sector, but Max getting out the way there, so no tow down towards Stowe after all for Kevin Zunneberg, other than just a tiny bit as he headed down towards the early part of the straight. But now through the Vale chicane for the Mercedes driver, what can he do as he clatters over the curb of the penultimate corner and through down towards the line? It's a 1.5 tenth improvement, but it's only enough for 6th place. And well, I think it's anyone's game for pole position here, Bath. We've got 10 drivers within less than 4 tenths of each other, and a track like Silverstone, it's, there's not a lot of room for error at this track. I think a lot of the drivers will have the racing line mapped out in their head, and they could probably do it blind. But so it's hard to find that time, but if you get the absolute maximum out of the first sector, it can really motivate you for the rest of the lap to push on. So who is going to get that extra little bit of time in these last 3.5 minutes?
Yeah, it's going to be really fascinating to see who can find that time. I mean, Red Bull are looking quite quick at the moment. P4 in the Constructors' Championship at the moment. And one of their drivers, Ivan Eskrig, has definitely been the man to watch on that team, with them currently having 29 points to their name. And if they're able to keep this pace up in the qualifying, then it's going to be interesting to see if they can pick up a bag full of points at the end of the race.
Indeed. Well, the only car on track at the moment doing a lap is SCI Jensen, but he's not doing a lap anymore. He invalidates, unfortunately, at the exit of Beckett's, and he was 2 tenths up, so he'll be disappointed with that, as he was looking to get himself closer to the rest of the field. We've got some surprises at the moment in terms of where people are. I think IRT Phil down in 14th is a big surprise. Don't expect him to be that far down. Usually, the last few rounds he's been very strong indeed, but he was struggling at the first part of the season, the first couple rounds, so he's just recently had an uptick in form, so perhaps back to earth for IRT Phil, maybe just a track he doesn't like, but we're certainly having no surprises towards the front because Ivan Eskrig is leading the way. He's on an outlap at the moment, but it's going to be Gatkowski in the McLaren who's going to be the first driver to come across the line to start his final run. Just 2 minutes to go in the session, and it's time for these final laps. And it's difficult here for the drivers in terms of keeping their cool under pressure. Which drivers, you really get a feeling, I think, in these last couple of minutes of qualifying, these last runs, which drivers can handle the pressure, especially when the field is this close in terms of time.
Yeah, for sure. And Kowski just coming around the final few corners now to start his lap. And I think the further down you are, the more pressure there is. Obviously, especially for someone like Kowski, who's a reserve, doesn't get these chances too often to prove his worth. Hasn't started the last 2 races, of course, being a reserve, but he did get 5th place in Jeddah, so let's see if he can put himself into the top 10 at the end of this session.
Got some time to make up though. He's right at the bottom of the standings right now, and he needs to find at least a 10th to get himself any further, and then another 2 tenths on top of that to get himself into the top 14. But he's just under a 10th up in the first sector for now, as he now heads towards the middle sector of the circuit. Down the straight towards Copse Corner he goes. It's going to be flat through here. And he's got drivers behind him on laps as well. I'm not sure that is that's the V-carb of Jensen, who I'm not sure is going to have time to set his lap. Only 30 seconds to go in this session as Nico Rassenberg goes well off at turn 1 by the looks of things. I don't know quite how he's managed that, but the driver who was formerly on provisional pole in this session now out of it, and P7 at best. He'll be really disappointed with that, especially at a track like this where DRS trains are so common. It's so difficult to overtake sometimes if you're in the middle of it. But Gatkowski through the last few corners, big improvement in the middle sector as he comes round the final corner and up to the line. It's a 25.6 to put him into 13th. He'll be a little happier with that, Beth.
Yeah, definitely. At least he's not starting right at the back, as we're seeing other people finish their laps. I think Nico in the Aston Martin is the next one across the line. He sets a 125.547, puts him into the top 10. As we got Spyro's crossing the line now. He's a 10th down. And
watch Tom as he comes around the final corner. There he goes. Tom in the Alpine. A 25.187 to get himself to provisional pole. Can Astala challenge him, Bath?
Let's find out as he comes through the final few corners now. Getting a little bit of that sausage curve as he now goes through Club and through the final corner. What's it going to be for Astala? He's going to improve to 4th. Puts him on the 2nd row of the grid.
Yeah, it's not enough for Astala, which means after a thrilling qualifying session, Ivan Eskrig does not manage to take pole position in the end. The honours instead going to the Alpine of VNT Tom, the German driver, pulling out a lap right at the end out of nowhere to put himself, well, not out of nowhere, he was right up there anyway, but a fantastic effort at the end of the session to take pole position. Championship leader alongside him on the front row with Max van der Geest down in 3rd and Astala alongside him. The top 4 really big players in this championship. Spyros Sipala, Kevin Zunneberg, Nico Rassenberg after that turn 1 crash. Christian and Nico, the top 10 with Zane, Chris, Zviadek, Gatkowski, Phil and Jensen, the last driver of the field. It's going to be a fantastic race with the grid this close, Bath. Hello to Indigo in the chat. Good to see you. Any predictions in the chat for the race winner or podium would be very welcome. Bath, it can be a little bit chaotic going down towards turn 3 at Silverstone on the first lap, because it's very tempting to send one all the way to the inside of turn 3 if there's space to do it, but you can easily see plenty of drivers going 3 wide through the first few corners on this circuit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it can definitely get very chaotic through turn 3 and 4, but yeah, can't wait for the start. It's P11 in the championship alongside P1 in the championship, going down to turn 1, which will be flat out, of course, for most of the race. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Tom can handle the pressure from Ivan Asgrig, who's starting alongside him, and maybe even Asgrig's teammate Spivers can get involved as well. He's not too far back, and everyone is so close in qualifying. Wonder how close the entire grid is going to be in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an exciting one. Hello to Logan in the chat. Good evening. Good to see you. We're just about to get ready to start this PSF2 race here in Silverstone, round number 5. The championship very, very close at the moment after Evan Nye's promotion to PSF1 in the last week. So Ivan Asgrig took over as the new championship leader, but he lines up on the front row in P2 with VNT Tom ahead of him. And like Bath said, can Tom withstand the pressure? That is the big question, because Ivan, I'm sure, is going to be piling it on. We saw it from him last week when he piled on the pressure and on Evan Nye and eventually managed to win that race. But can he do the same here in Silverstone is the question. Mostly probably going to be medium-hard or hard-medium strategy. I don't think we'll see any soft tyres today, as we usually don't on this year's game, to be honest. But nonetheless, I'm sure some drivers will go for something different, and the undercut can be very powerful around here due to the very long pit lane.
Yeah, definitely, and especially in this game and the game before, F1 24, the undercut is just so powerful. Even just one lap on cold but new tyres can find you loads of time. So maybe some people at the back, like Kowski in the McLaren starting 13th, can maybe use that as something to try and boost them into the top 10.
Yeah, indeed. Well, the start of the race is just moments away, and Logan asking for no heroics into the pit entry on the last lap, like a certain someone in the last week. But no, it's dry conditions, so I don't think we'll see any of that today. Here we go, 3, 4, 5, red lights. And we're underway for the British Grand Prix in PSF2. It's a good start from Tom. Ivan Asgrig bogged down a little bit in the second phase, and Tom sweeps around the outside to keep the lead through turns 1 and 2. Max van der Geest trying to challenge the championship lead around the outside of turn 3. There's Aston Martin round in the background. It's caused chaos. That is Astala, who's made a mistake and caused a multi-car pile-up. There's more cars sideways further back. Chris is out the race, and we've got an early VSC to calm everything down. But that is a lot of drivers with damage by the looks of things, and two big incidents in as many corners. And well, Bath, I don't know who you were focusing on there in that brawl, but that looked pretty nasty at turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, we were just talking about the chaos that village can cause, and it definitely caused some carnage there. I mean, you saw the contact there with Spyros in the Red Bull. That was putting down loads of positions, and obviously Chris RBL out of the race as well. I think he got spun round out of turn 4, and I think he just got collected, because I went on board with him, and it looked like his left front tyre was off, so obviously he'd been spun round, and obviously everyone was so close behind him, someone must have just collected him. But VSC is now over, We're down to 15 drivers, and just about to enter lap 2, but what a chaotic first lap that was.
Absolutely, and probably one of the most chaotic first laps of the season so far. Gatkowski out the race, is retired in the pit lane, so we're down to 14 drivers already, and that's Nico Rassenberg making it 13, also retiring in the pit lane. So lap 1, unfortunately. Spyros, though, keeping it going despite losing 8 positions, and that aged well, didn't it? He also retires in the pit lane. So that's 3 retirements in the pit lane on lap 1 in PSF2, and I'll let you come to your own conclusions about that one, but there's certainly some unhappy drivers on the grid today. But VNT Tom, aside from all the drama, still leads the way, and the top 3 still in order, as we've got Jensen making up 6 positions, largely thanks to the drivers retiring, and IRT Phil up 3 as well as Christian and Nico, but Astala down 4 after that disastrous half spin at turn 3 that ended up collecting several drivers. But he hasn't come into the pit, so it looks like he might have gotten away without sustaining damage, or if he hasn't done, it's only very minor damage. So Astala quite lucky to get away with that one, as they all hurtle down towards Stowe Corner for the second time, this time under green flag conditions, as Kevin Zunneberg was just teetering on the edge of having a go at Sipala there, but decided not to in the end. Everyone has started this race on the medium tyres, so no variation in strategy at all, and we'll only ever see strategy variation in terms of what lap everyone comes into the pits, Bath.
Yeah, my bad, I was just dealing with my cold.
No worries.
Yeah, I mean, not much variety with the strategy, as you just said, with everyone on the mediums. But I guess now that there's only 12 drivers left, there's only 2 drivers who won't be getting points, so maybe that will cause some sort of variation in terms of what laps people pit, in terms of is someone going to go along, hope for a safety car, or some sort of incident like that, or the undercut be the way to go. We will have to see in about 10 laps of time, I think, when the pit window opens. But at the moment, Tom is withstanding the pressure from Ivan Eskrig behind, and rather than looking in front of him, I think the Red Bull's going to have to start looking in his mirrors, as he's got the Mercedes right there.
Yeah, he does indeed. Max van der Geest really lurking in the background as Jensen gets past Zane, and the 2 Hasses swap as well. But we've already got gaps starting to form in terms of the DRS range. Jensen just briefly falling out the 1 second range, and again at the exit of Vale. But I think he's got the pace over Zane, and well, that fastest lap shows it. And I think he's going to get himself comfortably back in the DRS range if he continues on that pace. And Phil doing the same, but it's very close to them losing the DRS, and someone's going to do it at some point, and it's going to cause a big break in the field, and we'll get 2 very distinct groups before long, I'm sure, or 2 or more at the very least. Tom still leads the way though from Ivan Eskrig, and we've got a nice sensible DRS train forming here. There's all of the top 8 within a second of each other, and some much closer than that, with Jensen now just struggling to stay within that range. 1.1 seconds as he comes through Copse Corner. Can he stay in that DRS? He's using some ERS to get there, but he's run out as he heads towards Maggots, and he does lose the DRS, so that might be the beginning of the end for Jensen being able to stay with the top 8. He gained some time in Beckett's, but the damage was done at the detection point. But in terms of any moves being made, nothing so far, Bath. Everyone very cool, calm, collected and sensible at the moment.
Yeah, I guess everyone got their silliness out on lap 1, but yeah, as you said, not many overtakes yet, but I think if there is going to be a gap in this field, it's definitely going to be Jensen in the Racing Bulls car, as we're seeing at the moment, just getting inside that 1 second window at the moment. Obviously wasn't in it during the last Hanger Straight DRS, but he's really not got any ERS to play with either to try and get in it, as I think he hit 0 last lap as well. So for everyone behind Jensen, Zane, Phil and TGF, well, however you pronounce his name, you're going to be kind of, come on Jensen mate, hurry it up. So, once you're out of DRS, it's very hard to get back into the race and get back to that main pack. So I'm sure Zane is definitely going to be giving the Racing Bulls a hurry up, but he's struggling to stay within DRS of him as well.
Yeah, I'm sure he is, as Zane now 1.4 behind Jensen as they head through, and Phil now is going to have a chance with the DRS to get round the outside of the Ferrari, and that is the Haas driver up into the top 10 with points to his name, or well, a point to his name as it stands, and Astala making moves as well after his disaster on lap 1. He is up to 7th place, and Nico down to 8th, the PSF3 reigning champion. He's been having a bit of a middling season here in PSF2 this time around, but he's been there or thereabouts, and he was a big help to his teammate last week as well, doing a bit of a Sergio Perez job as he slowed down the leaders to help Astala out. But it ended up working then, but I think this time Astala is not going to be far ahead enough, and Nico's not going to be far behind enough for that to really come into play, unless Nico decides to go very, very long on that set of mediums. Zane into the pits for an early stop onto the hards. So an interesting strategy call from the Ferrari. Just wants to try and get a big undercut, but Zviadek already 3 seconds down. He's got damage as well, so that might also be a factor of Zane's pit stop, excuse me. And the Haas driver is in for a long day here in Silverstone, I think.
Yeah, I think Zane, I was watching Zane's pit stop and he actually replaced his wing, so I think he was carrying some damage, and I think it was definitely affecting him, because I was looking at his onboard the night before he pit, and he went very wide at Cops, and that was obviously why Jensen was getting away from him. But yeah, Zviadek is going to need to find some inspiration if he wants to try and catch the cars in front, and he's actually coming into the pits now, currently P7 in the championship, and has helped get Haas one of their 2 podiums so far this season, and looks like he's going to follow Zane and go on to the hards.
Yeah, he did get a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, just to add to his woes. It never rains, but it pours in motorsport sometimes, and that's certainly the case for Zviadek here. But I think realistically, the only form of inspiration he's going to get himself some points today is a safety car, especially now with that time penalty. So we'll see if he is lucky enough to get one. But as Zane passes him there on the exit of the pit lane, Zviadek has got an awful lot of work to do. Did he even repair his front wing? He did. Okay, so I think Zane had to repair his as well. That would make the most sense. But now we have a 10-car DRS train for the lead of the race. Jensen and Phil have done extremely well to get themselves back in this, because they both looked down and out a few laps ago. But now it is a pretty bog standard DRS train, but still room for things to happen. We saw a few weeks ago that these drivers in PSF2 are not willing to sit behind each other if an opportunity arises, and sometimes even if an opportunity isn't there to go for a move. But Astala is the next one to blink as he heads into the pit lane for an undercut as well. He's decided to, well, maybe cut his losses, or maybe try and just do something in this race after he got that unfortunate incident on lap 1. He straps on a set of the hards and he'll be going to the end on those tyres. So the top 9 still lead the way for now.
Yeah, but I mean, that's quite an early stop for Astala, I think, especially without damage. And I think Zane and Zviadek having damage there as well just shows how many people were affected by the lap 1 incidents, with, I mean, from as far as we know, 6 cars getting damage from it. But I think Astala's definitely going to be the one to watch now because he's essentially the guinea pig. He's the same pace as everyone else in that main pack, as much as we can see basically. So I think everyone is definitely going to be looking at the gap between him and Phil, who is at the bottom of the main pack. Although the top 6 are getting away from Nico at the moment. He's 1.5 seconds behind Christian in the Ferrari, but already Astala is gaining time on Phil. He gained about a tenth and a bit just through Cops, as now the Alpine of Sepala is the next one to box.
Yeah, Nico and Jensen following him in as well. And it's interesting how many drivers have gone for very early pit stops here, because they've got to do nigh on 18 laps on those hard tyres. It's not going to be the easiest. It won't be, particularly difficult. It's not like Bahrain tyre wear around here, but it's still not the easiest stint to do. And Astala now 9.9 ahead of Zane, and the big story here is if he's going to be ahead of Sepala as they come through turn 1. I don't think the answer is yes. No, he's well behind as he heads towards 3, but he's well in range. He doesn't quite get the DRS, I don't think. 1.03 at the detection point, so he'll be annoyed with that, will the Aston Martin driver. And a bit of a loss of the rear outside of turn 4 is not going to help his cause. But on the run down towards Brooklands, he is in the mix, as we've got Kevin Zunneberg making a mistake at the front by the looks of things. Either a half spin or some contact, because he has lost a ton of time. He's down to P5, and now there's a 1.7 second gap between Christian and the top 3. So are we going to see more pit stops? I think we are, most likely from Christian and Kevin, I would guess. And Phil might also come in here, as Sepala's now going to be under pressure from Astala. And we do have pit stops. That's VNT Tom and Ivan Esquig both in, but the championship leader with a pit lane speeding penalty, 10 seconds added to his time, and that is a disaster for Ivan Esquig. Max van der Geest, the only driver to remain out on track on the mediums, and you have to think he's going to lose out here as a result. It's interesting that the Mercedes pitted in this order. Usually the so maybe Max van der Geest just decided he wanted to go for one more lap, but VNT Tom now is going to feel very happy about seeing that 10-second marker next to Ivan's name.
Yeah, that's big for the championship for sure. If Astala's seen that, and if Los Kramer is watching from home or tuning in, they'll be fist pump in the air with that. But yeah, that definitely opens the door for Astala in terms of getting into the championship lead when they cross the line at the end of the race, if Ivan Esquig doesn't need to make another stop. But yeah, I mean, that is a crucial loss of points, and especially with everyone so close in the tier, as we've said before, that's going to really cost him, I think, at the end. Yeah, definitely going to take some pressure off Tom, who's been managing his ERS well with Ivan Esquig behind us. Now Max does the same thing as Ivan Esquig as he comes into the pits, and will be the final one to go onto those hard tyres. And that is definitely not what the Mercedes driver needed
No.
on his return. As we said, missing a few races before this.
No, not
this definitely won't
all.
help his morale.
Sorry to interrupt you. Not
It's
at
okay,
all.
I was trying to find my word.
You're good. Max van der Geest, 10-second penalty. He will drop to 3rd place. So he actually hasn't lost all that much at all from the later pit stop. He got undercut by everyone. And yet, here he is in P3 still. And he's going to get the DRS. But that 10-second penalty is going to be oh so costly. He's going to be so frustrated with himself, as will Ivan Esquig. And now look at this for the Alpine driver of Tom. He now has 2 drivers behind him with 10-second penalties, and he will feel like he is in prime position to cruise to a race win here in Silverstone. Sepala is down in 4th place. but he does have those two with penalties ahead, so he's in a net P2 right now. It is an Alpine 1-2 as it stands, and this is quite the situation. Did not expect this at all. Two pit lane speeding penalties from two of the top runners in this race. And Astala now, he's got a fan in the chat, and he's now on a net podium position, Bath.
Yeah, this is very good for Alpine. I mean, I'm sure as you've seen so far this season, Alpine haven't been one of the top teams. They're currently P8 in the Constructors' Championship with the best result of 4th from Tom, and being a 1-2, that's, let me do the math, 18, that's like 28 points, and that would definitely gain them some places in the Constructors' Championship, and it's really great for Sapala and Tom to found this really good pace at Silverstone, and boost themselves up in the Drivers' Championship as well, if they can stay in this position.
Oh, Phil making a move on Jensen further back. A bit of contact as they head through the left-hander, but it's Phil who gets into P8. A good move there from the Haas driver, but Jensen, I'm sure, will be following him along. It was a poor start for Phil in this race, but he's brought it back. He's up to 8th place. He may be 2.7 away from the rest of the DRS train for P1, but if he can salvage 8th place out of this one after the start he had, I don't think he'll be too unhappy with that recovery. Nico is in P10 at the moment, salvaging the last point available, with Zane nearly 6 seconds down after having to repair his damage. And Zviadek even further down. He's got a lot of work to do. Well, he needs a safety car, let's be real here. We've got 10-second penalties to 3 drivers and no track limits penalties at all on the board so far, which is pretty good going from PSF2, but now that I've said that, I'm sure someone will get one in the relatively near future. But Tom, at the moment, very happy, controlling this race ahead of 2 drivers with pit lane speeding penalties, and Sipala and Astala will both be pretty happy where they are as well. I don't know if Astala will know that Ivan has a penalty as well, but actually I think he will, actually, because he was 2 places behind him before Max came in. So Astala will know both of them have penalties. So at the moment he is aware, he should at least be aware, that he's in a net podium position. So he's just got to keep it clean, unlike what happened on lap 1. And there are several people in the Discord of the ones who retired who are not particularly happy about what went down on that first lap. But whatever happened, I'm sure the stewards will deal with it, and we're here on lap 13, halfway stage of the race, Bath, and well, it's looking very sort of controlled so far by all the drivers. No one going for any silly moves at this stage, but I think as the laps start to tick down, we're going to see the impatience start to come to the fore.
Yeah, for sure. And Sapala's got to watch it, because he was balancing over the 9/10 region with Max briefly through Stowe. But yeah, obviously, I think those 4 drivers who were involved in the crashes at the start, I think they have a right to be annoyed. I mean, practicing for such a big league like PSGL, and then just having your race end basically on turn 1, lap 1, can definitely be frustrating indeed.
Yeah, it can indeed. And well, the early retirements aside, it has been a pretty tense race so far. I think a lot of the drivers just making sure they don't make mistakes. But usually in Silverstone, in past F1 titles, we've seen plenty of DRS swapping between the top 2 in a train as the race progresses. But here on F1 25, it's a lot harder to do that because of the increased dirty air effect through the corners. So Ivan Esquig just not really able to get close enough to make any sort of opportunistic move on the race leader. He's not using any ERS. He's not really interested in making a move anyway, but you know, it's a bit dying out this race in terms of the top 7 right now, but of course once the laps tick down, like I said, the drivers will be knowing that their chances of gaining any positions will be running out. Jensen and Phil have been swapping though. In the meantime, further back, Jensen now back up to 8th position, 2.9 seconds away from the front. That did come down to under 2 seconds when Phil was leading this duo not too long ago, but it has since gone back up again. So it's really difficult for these two to live with the DRS train, as Christian has a little look at the inside of Astala down towards Brooklands, but decides against it. And well, it's that sort of move that we're probably going to see towards the end, and drivers who are that close behind, who are thinking about sending it, who wouldn't at this stage of the race, might well do later on. And Phil now starting to struggle on his hard tyres as he briefly falls out of that 1 second window of Jensen, but comes back into it through Copse. So nicely done from Phil there, and these two I think might well be duelling all the way to the flag.
Yeah, I was watching Phil for the last lap or so, and it looked like he was getting a lot of understeer. I think it must have been the dirty air as soon as Jensen got past him, because through this bit on the previous lap, it looked like he was getting so much understeer, and the gap was going over a second. But he's been able to get a little closer to Jensen, but they're gaining somewhat on Zunneberg in front. I think Jensen gained about 3 tenths on that lap, so it may not be over for Phil and Jensen. 10 laps to go, but he's going to have to find a little more pace, I think, if they want to get to the top 7. But as you previously mentioned a few laps ago about there being no track limits, I was just looking at how many warnings there has been overall, and then there's only been 6 exceeding track limits, like warnings at all, from anyone this race, and that just shows how close everyone is to the limit in a quick tier like this, but no one's going over the limit really.
Yeah, everyone's keeping it very calm and sensible at the moment, especially in these long DRS trains where no one can really make any moves at this stage. Although saying that, Kevin Zunneberg was very close to the back of the Ferrari of Christian on the last lap or so, but was just not able to make a move. He was practically pushing him through the Vale chicane, but there's just nothing he could do to make any sort of overtake. So just having to sit back for now and stay where he is. But you have to think, if Christian makes any more of those mistakes, then Kevin will be there to pounce, especially as the laps start to fall away. Jensen still within 2.8, so that gap has stayed relatively constant this lap between the duo and the main DRS train. But of course, don't forget the time penalties to Ivan Esquig and Max van der Geest, the 10-second penalties each. It will drop them both down to 8th and 9th as it stands, as you can see by the gap to leader on the left there. But Nico in the Aston Martin not close enough to take any advantage out of it. He's been falling well back these last few laps from the duo of Jensen and Phil. But still, it will give more points to the VCARB and the Haas drivers, respectively. Afri Fresh in the chat asking, what's the level of these drivers? Very high. I think that's all you need to know. Very, very high. They are very strong drivers. All of these guys, this is the second division of PSGL in the PlayStation sort of division of the league. And so it's these drivers are all extremely quick and in the top echelon of drivers on F125. So this is one of the highest levels that you will see on this game in league racing, as VNT Tom at the moment is the leader of it, and he's continuing to manage this gap to Ivan Esquig expertly at the moment. I haven't seen him make a single mistake so far, Beth.
Yeah, it's been great driving from Tom, and yeah, the skill of these drivers is just insane. In such a massive league in like PSGL, you've got so many tiers, And I mean, these people are really some drivers. I mean, much higher than. I had a stint in PSGL in F123, and I was tier 11. So these lot are rapid, and Tom is doing so good at the moment, managing his pace, managing the pressure from the championship leader at the moment, and I think he's definitely been my driver of the day, I'd say so far.
Yeah, I'd agree. At the moment, Tom is really showing the rest of the field how it's done, with a scintillating lap to take pole position earlier on, and now leading the way as Max van der Geest. A mistake on the previous lap. Did that lose him DRS, I wonder? It did, yeah. He's got no DRS. The rear flap not opening down towards Stowe, and Sipala will gain a bit of time there, but Max, luckily for him, not gaining too much. Or not losing too much to the top two. Phil and Jensen swapping again for P8 further back. It's now 3.5 seconds between them and the rest of the top runners, but they're still having a great race amongst themselves, and at the moment they're still well within range of snatching those extra 2 positions from the big time penalties that are being applied to Ivan Eskrig and Max van der Geest. How many divisions are there? Well, there are, I believe, 16 PlayStation divisions in PSGL, so, and this is the second one to you in the chat. So, yeah, very, very top-level drivers, like Bath said. But there's also the PC divisions in PSGL, which you can watch on Thursdays. If you tune into this channel on Thursdays at about the same time, you can see the top drivers on PC going at it. And at the moment, VNT Tom, like you said, Bath, controlling this race very, very nicely. And it's easy to say that it's now an easy road to the win for him, with the 2 drivers behind him both having 10-second penalties. But I think that's a bit unfair to him. If he does make a mistake and loses P2 to Ivan Eskrig, it could lose him momentum, and it can easily have an effect psychologically as well, and perhaps lead to more mistakes. So he's got to lead this from the front. He's got to stay calm and avoid taking the risks, but keep Ivan behind. And given how quick Ivan Eskrig has been this season so far, that is no mean feat. So Tom has got a lot of work to do still on his hands, but it would be remiss to deny that Ivan and Max's penalties have made things an awful lot easier for him than they would otherwise be. But we're finally getting a move in this DRS train. Christian and Astala side by side. Astala trying to take P5 away from the Ferrari driver. They've both got DRS though, down towards Brooklands, and Christian manages to keep hold of the top 5 for now, but he has wing damage on that Ferrari. I don't know if there was a major send to the inside from Astala in the first few corners of this lap, but Christian now is surely going to be incredibly vulnerable to the cars behind, and I don't think he's going to sustain that position with this damage. He might even fall back into the clutches of Phil and Jensen.
Yeah, I think they did make contact. I think Astala and Christian out of the loop, I think the corner is called. Yeah, I saw Christian's end plate or whatever fall off. So this makes it crucial for Astala and Zunneberg to pass him just like this, if they want to keep contact to the front 4 in these later stages of the race. But yeah, 7 laps left. Tom at the front at the moment. And I think, as we've just seen, I think this race is going to start spicing up.
Indeed. Apologies for that poor camera work there on the move into Stowe. Got on the wrong driver by mistake, but it is Astala who gets past the Ferrari, back into 5th place where he was a few laps ago, but now with a crucial difference. He is 1.5 seconds behind the top 4, and so now he's not really in the conversation for P2 in this race unless he can push hard to get back in DRS range. And, well, we know how fast Astala is and can be, so if anyone can do it, he is going to be one of the drivers that might be able to, but it's still going to be a very tricky situation for him. As what's happening further back, Bath?
saw Zvardek go into the grass at Village. I just went on board with him, and he was cutting some grass on the outside. But wasn't getting too close to the walls. But yeah, probably the only thing we've seen Zvardek do in the last 15 or so laps. He's had a very boring race, and I think after the first few laps, he's only ever gonna come back in with a safety car, and unfortunately, that's not happened for them. So it looks like he's going to be going home with no points today.
Yeah, it's a shame for Zviadek. It always sucks to be driving alone at the back, hoping for a safety car that's never coming. But good on him, because 3 other drivers decided enough was enough on lap 1, but Zviadek has gone the distance, despite his horrible situation that he's in. And well, having said that, I think he is now calling it a day. But at this point, I think I don't really blame him. He is coming into the pits. And yeah, that is a DNF for Zviadek, unfortunately. But at least he went almost the whole hog and hoped for a safety car. And it would have been very much deserving if he did get one, but sadly not on this occasion. Meanwhile, the battle for the final point is now spicing up. It looked like it was over a while ago, with Nico looking like he would take it, but Zane has been slowly creeping up to the back of this Aston Martin, and now he is well within DRS range and could be about to snatch the final point away from the F3 champion. Which would be, I think it would be harsh on Nico, but he's also just not had the required pace in this second stint to really make anything of this race. And Zane has been chipping away after his damage early on in this race that he had to repair. And he's done a stellar job to get in range of this Aston Martin, and surely he will be able to clear him by the end of the race. But I'm sure Nico will put up plenty of fight in these last 4.5 laps, because at the moment Zane not close enough to make a move. Sipala right now just sticking with Max van der Geest. He's got a fan in the chat, but I don't think he's really willing to size up a move. He'd need to overtake 3 drivers to win this race, and at the moment he's in P2, so or a net P2 I should say, so he's not going to be particularly motivated, I don't think, to get past the Mercedes and Red Bull unless some kind of disaster happens. He's already on course to complete a magnificent 1-2 finish for the Enstone outfit in Silverstone here. Astala right now 1.7 behind. He's not been able to close back up to the front DRS train after his battle with Christian earlier on, who incidentally is doing a fantastic job with that front wing damage. We've seen drivers earlier in this race have that same kind of front wing damage with just an end plate missing, and it's completely destroyed their race pace and they've had to come in for a stop. But Christian is barely hanging on to the DRS of Astala, and that is leaving him in a decent spot to fend off Kevin Zunneberg and Phil and Jensen further back, who, by the way, have joined the party. They were over 3 seconds behind not all that long ago, but now, thanks to all the battling and thanks to them two also putting in one heck of a shift, they're now well within range of getting even more points from this race. They're in a net 6th and 7th at the moment, thanks to the penalties ahead. So they could be looking to make it into the top 5 from this race, which would be a fantastic result for either of them.
Yeah, I think Phil and Jensen, they've been really, really good together. Just with all the teamwork they've been doing to catch up to the others. Yeah, but as you were saying, Christian's been doing a really good job. He's used a lot of ERS though, to try and stay in that DRS of Astala. But right now, Zunneberg just doesn't have the pace, and Phil is just behind him, and yeah, might get that 7th position, which will turn into 6th once Eskrig and must get their pens, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, I'm sure we'll see plenty of action from the stewards from this race as well. So, after that lap 1 shenanigans. So, we will update you on what happens in the stewards over the next week. Next time out, here in PSF2, as Phil now looking for the inside of Kevin Zunneberg to take 7th place in this race. He is now into a net top 5 position, and what a recovery it's been from the Haas driver today. He has been stellar after a disappointing start to the race, and now he is reaping the benefits. Kevin Zunneberg now is going to be under pressure from Jensen behind, who has had a great recovery drive of his own as well. And Nico, by the way, is continuing to fend off Zane, and well, he is going to continue to fend off Zane until the end of the race now, because that is the Ferrari driver into the pits, presumably for the soft tyres, to try and snatch the fastest lap away from anyone getting it at all. But he does put on the medium tyres, so it's not even with 1.5 laps to go is it good enough to put on the softs on this game, apparently. But Tom still leading the way at the front from Ivan Eskrig and Max van der Geest. Sepala in P4 just hanging on. He's actually been quite slow on this lap compared to the top 3, just teetering on the edge of losing DRS. 9.5 tenths. He just about keeps it at the detection point, and that's what he needs to do. All he needs to do is stay exactly where he is, as that is the Mercedes off of Max van der Geest further up, and that's going to give Sepala even more of a benefit as he heads down towards Stowe for the penultimate time. Astala has gapped Christian behind, so he is going to be a comfortable 3rd place in this race after the penalties are applied, and that is Jensen getting past Kevin Zunneberg for P8 as well, and that's going to be a net P6 once all is said and done.
Yeah, good overtake there by Jensen, and all the hard work has paid off for Phil and Jensen as we go on to the final lap. And yeah, Sapala a little slow on that final lap, but I don't know what his warning situation is like, but maybe he just wants to avoid getting another warning, and he really doesn't need to rush it, as obviously Ivan Eskrig and Max have those 10-second time penalties, and he's got a large gap to Astala behind, which is 2.3 seconds at the moment. But on this final lap, can Tom bring it home, and will we see any moves behind for position?
I think Phil is the most likely driver to make a move on this final lap. He's got Christian in his sights. The struggling Red Bull with the front wing damage is going to have a tough time keeping this Haas behind. Phil has been charging through the grid, or well, not through the grid, but he's certainly been charging all race from down in the dumps, now looking to try and take P4 off of this struggling Ferrari in this race. What a result this would be for IRT Phil if he can see it out. 4/10 gap to Christian. Can he make this move on the final lap down towards Stowe for the final time? He's not close enough. I think Christian's just about going to be able to hold on, but I am going to cut to our race leader, VNT Tom. He has been flawless all race, and it's pole to flag. Tom wins the British Grand Prix in PSF2. Sepala makes it an Alpine 1-2 as Astala gets his way onto the podium thanks to the 10-second penalties for Max and Ivan Eskrig. Christian takes home P4 and manages to fend off the drivers behind of IRT Phil, who actually lost out to Ivan as well. What happened to Phil on the last lap?
I've no idea. I think he must have made a mistake out of the final corner, because I cut to him and I saw his tyres had loads of grass and on his tyres, and I have no idea what happened, but clearly something happened, of course, to make him lose those positions. I mean, I don't know if he went for an ambitious move on Christian, because he was still only about 3 tenths back after Stowe, so yeah, that's really puzzling, but that is really disappointing for him after all the hard work he put in. But yeah, what a win from Tom there in the Alpine 1-2, which I'd say is one of the most unexpected things we've seen so far in this PSF2 season. And yeah, congrats to him, and Aston Martin of Astana landing at the podium in 3rd.
Indeed, yeah, what a race from Tom, and it's a VNT 1-2 as well as an Alpine 1-2. for those two drivers. Sepala taking home second place after the pit lane speeding penalties for Ivan and Max van der Geest. They will both be absolutely gutted to lose out on a podium each thanks to those penalties. Astala manages to salvage P3 after his disaster at the start of the race, making it a finish 2-3 in this race. Christian takes home fourth place with that damage. A great drive at the end from him. Jensen takes home fifth. He'll be delighted with that, with Ivan Eskrig in sixth. Phil in P7. Then it's Kevin Zunneberg. Then it will be Max van der Geest. And then Nico will take home the final point for Aston Martin. And, well, an intriguing race in Silverstone today. And it was Tom who took home his first win of the season. Ivan Eskrig, with that 10-second penalty, I'm not entirely sure if he'll lose the championship lead. But if not, he'll certainly be very close to it. And this championship has taken yet another turn here in round 5.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a great race, and really enjoyed it, and always love observing PlayStation F2. I enjoyed it in Austria as well, and yeah, congrats to Alpine.
Indeed, yeah, what a race for the Alpine boys. It's been a fantastic day for them. And, well, Bath, I know you don't get to commentate in PSGL often as a reserve commentator, and it's been a delight to have you in the box with me today. And I always choose a driver of the day at the end of all of my commentary streams, so I'm going to give it to you this time. Who is your driver of the day from today?
Oh, I think it's either got to be a Starler after his poor lap 1, or Tom just for withstanding the pressure of the Red Bull. But I mean, I guess he didn't have as much because of the 10-second time penalty and things like that, so I think I'll give it to a Starler for coming back through the field after the tricky start of the race.
Absolutely fair pick, 100%. And there's a few drivers I think that could be worthy of driver of the day, but Astala definitely one of them. So there you go, Astala. You get commentator's driver of the day for today. But Tom will be taking all the plaudits today, pole position and the win. So big points for him here in Silverstone, and thank you all very much for watching. We will be back next week, of course, for PSF2, where we will be heading to let me just confirm. Yeah, we'll be heading to the Hungaroring next week for what will be probably a similar type of race in terms of a DRS train, and qualifying being key to the race results in the end. But we'll see if anyone can spring a surprise, especially down towards turn 1. But in the meantime, thank you everyone ever so much for watching. It has been a pleasure as always, and make sure to tune in. I think PSF 3 are on at the moment as well in the middle of their races, so make sure to tune in there, give them your support as well. But in the meantime, we'll be back next week for the Hungaroring. So it's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you everyone. Thank you Bath for joining in the commentary box, and have a great rest of your week. We'll see you all next time for more PSGL. Goodbye.